Hello there, you gorgeous radiant person. This is Chris from TechSpert, and I'm here with two of the most premium smartphones launched in 2019 so far. Here on the left, you've got the fresh new OnePlus 7 Pro, a super premium version of the OnePlus 7. And then on the right, you've got the Huawei P30 Pro, again, a more premium version of the standard Huawei P30. Going to do a full side-by-side comparison now, the specs, the features, everything else you need to know, to basically see which one might be best for your own personal needs. And don't forget, for more on the latest and greatest mobile tech, to subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So first up, if you absolutely detest bezels and notches and things like that, then no worries, either of these will do the job. As you can see, the OnePlus 7 Pro in particular, absolutely fantastic front-filling display. Very tiny bezels. As you can see, there's no camera notch or anything up top. You get a dinky little teeny nipple notch here on the Huawei P30 Pro, but again, a very screen-filling experience. The OnePlus 7 Pro is the bigger of the two handsets. It's 6.67 inches, an absolute beast. The Huawei P30 Pro is still pretty massive at 6.47 inches. Even though the OnePlus has the bigger screen, though, there's very little difference in terms of the general dimensions. They're more or less the same height, same width, and everything else. And of course, both of these blowers have a proper heft to them as well. The OnePlus 7 Pro ever so slightly heavier, just over 200 grams, but certainly you'll feel either of these when they are stuffed inside your shorts. Now, although both the OnePlus 7 Pro and the Huawei P30 Pro are constructed from glass, they offer a very different style and design. This is actually the matte finish on the OnePlus 7 Pro. You can pick it up in a shiny, glossy finish similar to the Huawei P30 Pro as well, but I quite like the sort of metal style matte sheen that you get here. Slight blue tint to it as well, looks very dashing indeed. Got to hand it to Huawei's design team though, the P30 Pro is absolutely stunning. I love this gradient style finish, which it has basically taken and made its own. As you can see, it throws off a rainbow of colours depending on how you tilt it towards the light. Sort of nice oranges and yellows here up towards the top, and then down towards the bottom you get those sort of deeper blue hues and everything as well. It's great stuff. They're both pretty durable handsets as well. It's fully Gorilla Glass 5 coated, the OnePlus 7 Pro. The Huawei P30 Pro, they wouldn't actually tell us if it was standard Gorilla Glass, but thankfully, touch wood, I've been using it a good few weeks now, well over a month, and there are no real scratches on that rear surface, and only a couple of tiny ones here on the screen, so definitely nice and durable. And in terms of general water resistance and everything as well, you get full IP68 water and dust resistance here on the Huawei P30 Pro. You don't have an official IP rating on the OnePlus 7 Pro, but as you might have seen from the leaked materials, you can give it a good old dunking in water. Various seals and preventative measures to stop water getting inside. So either of them, if you drop them in the toilet, just give them a quick clean off and they should hopefully be absolutely fine. Hooray! Unfortunately, neither the Huawei nor the OnePlus has a headphone jack, so you won't be able to shove in a pair of wide headphones. You just have to rely on good old Bluetooth 5.0 for that instead. On the display front, there's quite a lot of differences between these two handsets. The OnePlus 7 Pro rocks an AMOLED screen. It's OLED here on the Huawei P30 Pro. Of course, dive into the display settings. You can play around with the output. They both start off in vivid modes by default, which are quite like nice punchy colors in both cases. You can, of course, manually tweak the likes of the color temperature and everything as well if you prefer. And there's all the usual eye comfort modes and all that shenanigans as well. Here on the OnePlus 7 Pro, you can actually configure the screen refresh rate as well. It tops off at 90 Hz, which is nice and silky smooth. Just an instant response to all of your swipes, and everything looks very silky indeed. Gorgeous stuff. Gotta say, on the vivid mode, both of these handsets, I do prefer the color output here on the OnePlus 7 Pro. Just seems that little bit more vibrant and vivid without going into sort of sickly sweet artificial territory. It's particularly noticeable here on the oranges. Hopefully that's coming through in the video. But yeah, just a really nice output here on the OnePlus 7 Pro. It's also a Quad HD Plus resolution screen as well. You can either have it adapted on the fly to sort of suit whatever you're up to at the time, or you can just knock it onto Quad HD Plus permanently, which is what I've done. And you can notice some of the finer details just come out that little bit more strongly here on the OnePlus 7 Pro, but you don't have to look at the phones side by side to really notice the difference. Of course, you get a nice bit of HDR support on both of these smartphones as well. So the likes of your Netflix content, your Amazon Prime content, with the HDR support looks absolutely fantastic. Really nice contrast, as you can see there, deep blacks, really nice colors. The rich hues really shine off the screen. And as you can see there, just beautiful output. Again, the OnePlus 7 Pro, I think, slightly has it on the color reproduction. It's just got that slightly stronger texture to it, as it were, but either one will definitely more than do the job just for kicking back with a bit of Netflix, bit of movie action, whatever you want. On the audio front, it's very different output as well. You get a stereo speaker output here on the OnePlus 7 Pro via the earpiece and this bottom edge mounted speaker as well. Full Dolby Atmos support, as you can see there. Here on the Huawei P30 Pro, it's actually just a mono speaker output. Again, just this bottom mounted effort. The reason for that being it doesn't actually have an earpiece at all. It uses Huawei's electromagnetic levitation feature instead. What that means is basically when you're on a call, the sound is transmitted via vibrations directly through the display. If I just play a quick bit of video action, you'll be able to hear the difference in the output as well. So first of all, the OnePlus, which is basically just a personalized newsfeed. Then no worries, just jump on into the home settings and then go to display Google app. So you see really nice and loud, nice punchy bass and everything. And now this one, Google app, which is basically just a personalized newsfeed. Then no worries, just jump on into the home settings and then go to display Google app. So again, on top volume, very solid effort from the Huawei P30 Pro, but because it's only firing sound out that bottom speaker, it sounds a bit muffled, it's firing away from your face, it's not got that same sort of full body that you get here on the OnePlus 7 Pro. Now both these mighty blows also have an in-display fingerprint sensor as well. Just a quick tap of your finger, and as you can see, you are basically straight into your desktops, and it seems to be faster here on the OnePlus 7 Pro compared with the Huawei P30 Pro, but there's not a huge amount in it, to be honest. Whoops, it did facial recognition that time, so fingerprint, as you can see, boom. Again, very little hanging around at all. It is just an optical sensor on both of these though, so it does just take a simple 2D image of your fingerprint. It's not an ultrasonic sensor like you get on the likes of Samsung's Galaxy S10 phones. And of course, yes, you do get full facial recognition with both these smartphones as well. Here on the OnePlus 7 Pro, the camera actually has to pop out of the top, as you can see there, because it is hidden away out of view, whereas of course it's front mounted there on the Huawei P30 Pro, so no worries, but they're both very nippy considering this has to pop the camera out before recognizing your face. There's not too much in it in terms of the time, just a quick tap now. And as you can see, basically straight into it, no delay whatsoever. So I'd say they're pretty much comparable in terms of the time taken. That said, the Huawei P30 Pro does also have raise to wake, so you don't even have to tap that power button, as you can see there. Whereas you don't get that on the OnePlus, you do have to unfortunately hit the old power button in order to activate that camera. Now, even though both of these smartphones are running a bit of Android Pie action for their operating system, they do have a very different software experience on both of these blowers thanks to the manufacturer's own overlay. You do of course get EMUI, the latest version 9 here on the Huawei P30 Pro, and it's the OxygenOS, again the latest version here on the OnePlus 7 Pro. So one quick and easy example of the differences is swipe right from your desktops, and here on the P30 Pro you'll get the Google feed, just basically like a news feed type thing, and here on the OxygenOS OnePlus 7 Pro you'll get the shelf feature, which is shortcuts to your favorite apps and various other bits. It's all completely customizable, of course. In fact, customization is a strong suit of both of these blowers. You can play around with the home settings, configure the devices to be exactly how you want them, have a good play around with behind the scenes stuff as well. There is a lot of crossover with a lot of the main features, and of course you get the standard Android Pie style stuff as well. So you get digital balance here, for instance, on the Huawei P30 Pro. Just tells you exactly how much time you're spending on all the various apps, allows you to manage your time and everything, and you get the digital well-being, a similar sort of thing here on the OnePlus 7 Pro. You can of course get rid of the navigation bar down below and just use gesture support instead, which is definitely to be recommended. It's great stuff, and there's full gesture support and everything as well. Although the Huawei P30 Pro does have a great dedicated one-handed mode as well, which we're big fans of. That just shrinks everything down on the display and makes it much easier to use, which is good when you've got a beastly blower like either of these bad boys. Here on the OnePlus you are limited to basically just being able to drag down that notifications bar from anywhere on the screen, which is definitely helpful, but it doesn't quite help out with a lot of your apps. That said, the OnePlus 7 Pro does have a dedicated gaming mode as well, and speaking of gaming, let's segue nicely into the performance side of things. Both of these are premium handsets, so of course, as you would expect, they both perform very admirably. You get the Snapdragon 855 chipset backed by either 6, 8 or 12 gigs of RAM here on the OnePlus 7 Pro. You get the Kirin 980 chipset of Huawei's own division backed by 8 gigs of RAM here on the P30 Pro. As you can see in benchmarking tests, the Snapdragon 855 unsurprisingly does have it. The Kirin chipset is a bit older, and also Qualcomm tends to absolutely boss the market when it comes to those mobile platforms. But yeah, it is a nice smooth everyday performance on either of these handsets, so absolutely no worries on that front. And in terms of the gaming, of course you can play a nice bit of PUBG on those high detail settings as well, with a nice smooth frame rate. In fact, here on the Huawei P30 Pro, you even get a nice bit of GPU turbo action. If you don't know what that is, go check out my full explainer video, and that just helps to give you a nice, consistent, smooth frame rate. So this right here is the OnePlus 7 Pro's gaming mode that I briefly mentioned. As you can see, you've got full resource management. You can optimize your CPU, your GPU, all of that shenanigans. You've got full notifications, do not disturb, basically. Do not give me your notifications. I'm playing PUBG. I'm doing something very important here, so leave me alone. You've also, of course, got full haptic feedback, all this kind of shenanigans. And you've got the new Fanatic mode as well, which basically completely calls everything in the background, gives full dedicated support to the game, which is good if you're proper serious like Mr. Fanatic is. The more good news in this latest version of OxygenOS as well is they finally implemented a bit of screen recorder action as well, so you can actually record all of the action that's going on as you're busy blasting noobs in the face or getting shot to like I normally do. And yes, it is a beautifully smooth gaming experience here on the OnePlus 7 Pro, as well as, of course, the Huawei P30 Pro as well. And we've got both of these handsets on full graphic settings as well, HDR level, as you can see, they're high frame rates. And yeah, they just run a dream, absolutely no worries whatsoever. So as you would expect, of course, from a premium handset. As for the battery tech, well, it's a slightly bigger battery here on the Huawei P30 Pro, 4,200 mAh compared with the 4,000 mAh OnePlus 7 Pro. And Huawei definitely impresses on the battery efficiency as well. You'll easily get a day and a half of life out of that bad boy, even with pretty intensive everyday use. OnePlus 7 Pro certainly doesn't disappoint on that front either, though, thanks to, again, that energy efficient Snapdragon 855 chipset. When it comes time to charge back up again as well, both are blistering fast. You get the Warp Charge 30 here on the OnePlus 7 Pro, and here on the P30 Pro, of course, you get the Supercharge. They're both very nippy. Just 15-20 minutes of the plug will give you almost a half charge on both of these devices. Very impressive stuff. You get the usual power saving modes and everything as well. However, the P30 Pro also boasts wireless charging as well, and of course you get the wireless reverse charging if you want to share your juice with another human being. That sounds all kinds of wrong. And then to round off the general specs, the OnePlus 7 Pro comes with a base level of 128 gigs of storage, although as you can see here, you can also pick it up in a 256 gigs flavor, whereas the Huawei P30 Pro comes with 256 gigs as standard. Which all brings us beautifully onto, of course, the camera hardware. And as you can see here, both of these smartphones rock a triple lens rear camera setup. You get a 48 megapixel primary lens here on the OnePlus 7 Pro. That's f1.6, uses a Sony sensor, and it's got a bit of optical image stabilization built in as well. Similar setup here on the P30 Pro. It's a 40 megapixel super spectrum lens. It's f1.6 again, and again has that built-in OIS. And both smartphones also offer a ultra-wide angle lens. It's actually 20 megapixel here on the P30 Pro, whereas it's only a 16 megapixel here on the OnePlus 7 Pro. And then you also get an 8 megapixel telephoto lens on both of these shooters, again with a bit of optical image stabilization, although it is actually a 5 times periscope zoom here on the P30 Pro, whereas it's again only a 3 times optical zoom here on the OnePlus 7 Pro. Should do the job though, eh? Now I am actually performing a full in-depth camera comparison between the OnePlus 7 Pro and the Huawei P30 Pro in a separate video, so go check that out. It should be going live about the same sort of time as this video, in fact. Let's just have a quick look at the camera interface. As you can see, they've got a similar sort of feature set. You've got portrait mode, so you can shoot a nice crisp shot of your subject and blur out the background. You actually get a variety of effects, of course, here on the P30 Pro, whereas it's just the depth effect here on the OnePlus. You get a form of night mode on both handsets as well. We'll definitely be comparing that to see how Nightscape 2.0 here on the OnePlus stacks up against the fantastic night mode here on the Huawei P30 Pro. And of course you've got full Pro manual controls if you demand a bit more total control basically over your snaps, like the ISO level, shutter speed, all that kind of shenanigans is on there. You get tons of bonus modes here on the P30 Pro as well. You get a selection here on the OnePlus as well, but it tends to be a bit more streamlined. And then as far as the video smarts go, well, of course, you can shoot full 4K resolution video on either handset, although you can also shoot it at 60 FPS here on the OnePlus, which isn't available on the Huawei. And the image stabilization, touch wood, seems pretty strong on the OnePlus so far. Certainly probably a little step up from the likes of the Huawei P30 Pro. So there you bloody well have it. That's the OnePlus 7 Pro compared in depth next to the Huawei P30 Pro. As you can see, in terms of those premium specs, the performance, the battery life, they're on pretty much level terms. They are both fantastic top-end handsets, definitely two of the best smartphones of 2019. So over to you now. Which of these two mighty blowers are you most tempted by? Definitely let us know in the comments down below. And please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest mobile tech. Cheers everyone, love you.